In the last video, we disassembled this AS1475 movement. In this video, let's put it back. I have cleaned the watch parts using the watch cleaning machine. The parts are nice and clean. Let's start by putting back the mainspring barrel. I use this mainspring winding set to put back the mainspring into the barrel. This is a fantastic toolkit made by Burgeon. I highly recommend this toolkit for anyone who is trying to put back the mainspring winder. This tool helps you to put back the mainspring without bending the mainspring or breaking the mainspring, and it's pretty easy to use. There are a lot of YouTube videos which explains this process. I'm using size 5. I'm using Mobius 8300 natural grease to lubricate the barrel. I'm lubricating the barrel in the places where the mainspring gets into contact. There are two latches where the mainspring sits, so I'm lubricating both of them. Now I'm going to wind the mainspring. I want the mainspring using the mainspring winder. I'm going to put back the mainspring into the barrel. I'm getting a better shot here. Gently pressing the mainspring toolkit should push the mainspring from the holder into the barrel. Now we can start working on the barrel arbor. The barrel arbor should get duplicated with D5. It's a thick Mobius oil. A tiny drop is enough to lubricate the arbor. I prefer putting back the arbor into the barrel by holding it in a hand. Align the notch to the mainspring hole and gently pushing it in should do the trick. Now I'm going to apply D5 in the arbor where the barrel lid is going to get secured. I'm using this quick tool which helps you to put back the barrel lid in place into the barrel. I'm applying Mobius 8300 in the mainspring. You can also lubricate the mainspring before putting that into the barrel, but I prefer this method. If you just put few spots of the grease in the mainspring, when you wind and unwind, it will automatically get lubricated, and I think this is a better way of lubricating it, and it gives better results for me. Putting back the barrel lid. It's as simple as putting back the tool cover and pressing it. I'm centering the arbor so that the hole lines up with the arbor straight. It's not absolutely necessary to line it up to a straight point, but as much as you can. This mainspring click tool helps you to put the lid into the barrel without putting any fingerprints in the barrel. Now I'm going to work on the alarm side of the barrel. I have already wound the alarm mainspring using the Mergent Bin Free winder. I'm lubricating the barrel using Mobius 8300 natural grease. The procedure is pretty much the same what we explained previously when I lubricated the time side of the barrel. Now we can push the mainspring into the barrel. I'm lubricating the mainspring using Mobius 8300. Few drops or spots of the grease should be enough. I'm applying a little excess here. This is an alarm barrel, so it doesn't keep how it interact with any of the time functionality. Keeping this lubricator will give a very smooth experience when you wind the alarm side of the movement. Now we can put back the barrel arbor. Before putting back, as I mentioned earlier, we should lubricate the arbor using D5. Most of the Swissmade movements uses a left-handed mainspring. In this case, both the barrels are left-handed. Now we can secure the lid with the barrel using this tool. This completes the barrel. Now we can start working on the movement assembly. I'm going to remove the balance from the main plate by unscrewing the balance screw. Slightly prying the balance cock should remove the balance from the main plate. Very little pressure is recommended in this process, so be careful when you remove the balance from the main plate. Now we can secure the balance in the balance holder. This is a tool I typically use to put back the balance. Very useful tool. We'll start by assembling the alarm side of the movement. I'm going to lubricate the barrel with D5 before putting back the ratchet wheel. Typically in watch movement, this ratchet wheel will be secured with a screw, but in this alarm moment it has been secured within the barrel itself. There's no screw because this barrel goes to the bottom of the plate and it is secured by the plate itself. The alarm assembly has three pieces. One is the barrel and a wheel which connects to the barrel to drive the hammer, and this is the hammer. Now we can secure the parts under the bridge. I'm using a P-tool here to line up the wheels. Now we can put back the screws to tighten up the bridge. I'm checking before I'm going to tighten the screws. I'm holding the bridge with a P-tool while screwing the screws. Before tightening it firm, always check, otherwise you will end up breaking the pivots of the wheel. I'm using a piece of Rodico to clean up any marks I see. I'm lubricating the alarm side of the movement with D5. I'm using an automatic oiler here. Apologize. This is a mechanism which triggers the alarm function of the movement, and this hammer hits a small piece of steel which has been embedded into the case itself to generate the sound. I'm applying some natural grease in the wheels. Applying it in one wheel should automatically lubricate the rest as the alarm function activates, or we can activate it manually like the way what I do. So this makes sure that the lubrication has been passed across all the wheels and the hammer itself. This is very similar to the way we lubricate the pallet fork and the escapement wheel. As I mentioned, I put back all the screws in the movement because it is a kind of a complicated watch movement where the screws are not in same sizes. I didn't want her to mess around with the screws, so I always put the screws in the movement while cleaning. Now I'm removing it back as I assemble the movement. Now I'm lubricating the center wheel with D5. Little bit of D5 at the top as well where the bridge is going to get secured. It's easy to lubricate this way, or you can also lubricate this after you put the bridge. Both the way it works, but I prefer this way. Now we can put the bridge and secure the bridge with two screws which we just removed. I'm using a Pete hood to make sure the bridge gets aligned with the wheel. I'm tightening the screws now. Always hold these bridges using a Pete hood to make sure that you don't have any movements while screwing the screws. Any movements or any not good, it might break the wheel pivots. I'm testing the wheel. I'm grouping all the parts together for assembly. Now we can start putting the time side of the barrel. Before that, I'm lubricating the main plate with D5. Now we can carefully insert the barrel into the main plate. I should have put the barrel first, but it doesn't really matter. A slight movement in the barrel should take the barrel into the main plate, but it is easier to put the barrel first and then the main wheel. Now we can secure the barrel bridge. If you notice, I'm using a brass tweezer here just to avoid any scratches or marks in the main plate. It's highly recommended to use a brass tweezer instead of a steel or titanium. I'm using the P tool to line up the bridge using Rodico to clean up any marks here. Now we can test the barrel function and then we can put back the screws. Sorry for the out of focus here. In my upcoming videos I'll make sure that I can take a better shot. I just got this camera on the lens. I'm still playing around with the angles. Hopefully I should be able to take better shots in my upcoming videos. I'm lubricating the barrel with D5. Now we can start working on assembling the wheels which drive time and the moment. We have three more wheels to get fitted apart from the center wheel, the escapement wheel, the third wheel and the second wheel. I'm removing the screws which needs to be used to secure the bridge. I'm going to lubricate the second wheel with Mobius 9010, a thinner oil when compared to D5. I cannot explain all the lubrication I'm going to use in this. I'll try to do as much as I can, but please refer the watch movement manual for the full list of lubricant to be used. I've lined up all the wheels here. Now we can secure the train bridge. Extreme care should be taken while securing the train bridge. I use a P-thread to support this bridge and line up all the pivots in place. Before tightening the screws, do make sure that the wheels are correctly positioned, and as I said, use a P-thread to support the bridge while screwing it up. Light pressure on the bridge using a P-thread should line up the wheels. Now we can secure the screws. I'm screwing the screws by supporting that with the P-thread. Light movement in the barrel should move all the wheels freely. Before tightening it up, do check the wheel alignment. I'm using D5, I'm using 9010 here to lubricate the wheels. The second wheel takes 9010. I'm using the automatic oiler. The third wheel also take 9010 and the escapement. The only wheel which takes D5 is the center wheel. I've adjusted my oiler to get out very tiny bit of oil, so I typically apply this at 2 to 3 attempts because very tiny oil comes out when I apply it through my automatic oiler. Now we can work on assembling the or completing the barrel by putting the click spring. Extreme care should be taken to put back click spring. There's a high chance if you don't use a piece of wood to support this, it might fly all around your room. I'm lubricating the spring and also assembling the click. I'm tightening the screw which secures the click. I'm testing the action. Now we can start working on putting back the crown on the ratchet wheel. I'm lubricating the click spring with D5. For crown and ratchet wheel, the crown wheel post I'm using Mobius 8300 grease. Before putting the crown wheel ring, Now I'm lubricating the crown wheel ring with Mobius 8300. This is a very good grease for crown wheel assembly. I'm assembling the crown wheel. Now we can lubricate the crown wheel with also some D5. Now we can screw back this screw. This screw, which is for the crown wheel, is a left threaded screw in most of the Swiss based movements. I'm testing out the wheel before I'm going to assemble the ratchet wheel. I'm lubricating the barrel harbor with D5 and placing the ratchet wheel by lining up the ratchet wheel with the crown wheel. Using P2 to line up the wheels here. The ratchet wheel should get lined up with the shape of the barrel harbor. A slight pressure on that should get that lined up. I'm using P2 here again. Now we can screw the screw which tighten the ratchet wheel with the arbor. I use P2 to hold the wheel tight to securely tighten the screw. You can also use a brass tweezer. Both of them should work fine, but I prefer the P2. I'm cleaning up few debris using Radico here. And also it removes some excess oil. I'm assembling the clip spring in the alarm side to finish up the alarm work. You can also, I could have done this earlier as well, but it doesn't matter in which order you place this. So now we can put the click spring. The lubrication and the process is pretty similar to the train side of the watch, sorry, the time side of the watch. The spring is to be lubricated and the click should be secured with the screw. And then we can put back the ratchet wheel. If you observe in the alarm side, there is no crown wheel here because that's the wheel we attached when we put the barrel here. So the wheel which interacts with the winding system, it's beneath this main plate here. So in this movement, in the back set, we only have the ratchet wheel for the alarm work. I'm using a brass tweezer to hold the spring to line up the click. The click has a little notch that should be lined up with the spring to provide the motion for winding the alarm barrel. I'm putting back the screw to secure the click. If you observe, I still hold the spring because it has a tendency to fly because any pressure on this will remove the spring from the notch and it may fly all over the room. Now we can put back the ratchet wheel. Lubricating the barrel arbor with E5 like the way we did in the time side. Wheel is lined it up and we can screw it in. Here you go. I didn't align this up, so but I was able to figure this out and I corrected that. Now we can turn the movement and work on the dial side to assemble the pieces which operates and triggers the alarm. Before that, I'm lubricating the jewels, starting with D5 for the center wheel and 9010 for escapement third and the other wheel. Sorry, the second wheel has been already lubricated. Just the escapement and the third wheel. I'm testing out the alarm bridge alignment here just to make sure that everything has been secured right. Now I'm going to secure the cannon pinion. I am using Mobius synthetic oil 9504 here, which is a blue color grease. It's very good for cannon pinion. It's always better to put the cannon pinion first before lining up the other wheels. Otherwise, you need to be extremely careful while lining up the wheels with the cannon pinion while pressing it in. So it's easier to put the cannon pinion first and start assembling the rest of the wheels. Slight pressure using a brass tube should secure the cannon pinion into the center wheel. The center wheel is the wheel in a movement which drives time. All the other wheels, like the hover wheels, drives on top of this. You will see that in a moment when I start assembling the other wheels in the dial side. I'm unscrewing the screw which holds the alarm lever. I have taken some extra care while cleaning up the alarm lever in the clutch cleaning machine to make sure that the lever does not get bent. I'm applying some grease where the alarm lever gets in touch with the main plate. Now we can secure the alarm lever. I have screwed the screw to secure the alarm lever. I'm going to tighten this up. I'm using a very old movement holder here. This movement works very good with these types of movements where we have many barrels, like at least in this moment we have two barrels here. So the normal version one doesn't work great in these scenarios, and I use these vintage movement holders to service these alarm movements, especially the AS1475 and the other series movements like AS5008, etc. I'm lubricating the sliding pinion and the winding pinion using Mobius grease. This is a synthetic grease, very good for the winding mechanism. I'm lining up the winding pinion. Also applied a little bit of D5 in the main plate, which secures the winding pinion. Now we can line up the sliding pinion with the winding pinion. I've also lubricated the stem using the Mobius grease. As I said, I'm going out of focus here. I'll try to do or take better shots in my next videos. I lined up the stem with the winding pinion and the sliding pinion. Applying a little bit of D5 the sliding pinion where the yoke is going to be placed. Also applying some D5 in the notch where the yoke is going to get secured. I'm removing the screw where the setting wheel is going to be secured and the screw which is going to hold the setting shiver lumper. I'm securing the yoke. In this watch movement, the yoke goes slightly inside the main plate. If you observe there in the sliding pinion, goes inside the notch. Now I'm going to apply the Mobius grease in the places where the yoke gets contact with the setting lever. I'm position the setting lever and the yoke in the same time setting position. I'm applying a little bit of D5 for the pose which is going to take the setting wheel and the intermediate wheel. I'm putting back the setting wheel now. Now I'm securing the yoke spring with the yoke. I'm using a heavier tweezer here because these springs are quite heavy to be used with a brass one, so I'm using a heavier tweezer here by holding the spring with the P-tool. Lubricating the spring. It's not ideal to lubricate it like the way I'm showing it. It's better to put it first, then slightly squeeze in. But I will clean up this excess oil using Rodico now. Quite a bit of oil there. Remove all of them now. Now we can secure the setting lever jumper, and the lever has been secured, and I've also applied the Mobius grease here. I'm moving the excess grease using Rodico. I'm testing out the setting and winding position. Looks good. Now we can start working on the alarm side, the wheels which activates the alarm and deactivates the alarm. If you, I don't know the exact names of these, you can refer the manual of AS1475. As you see, this is a very quality movement actually. If you see the way the plates and the wheels are secured, you don't see these types of parts made in the watch movements produced things nowadays. I really like these vintage movements. They are very quality movements. Applying D5. And the grease switch on the winding pinion of the alarm side. Now I'm going to put back the alarm side and the wheels. It's a little tricky to put the alarm side because it's secured with two springs, and those two springs needs to be lined up with a couple of levers here to make this alarm work. I'm unscrewing the screws here, and then we can start assembling the wheels and the levers needed to make the alarm work or to operate the alarm. As you see, there are a lot of parts goes into this movement. It's a manual wind movement, but it takes a little bit more time to assemble these, but I really love working on these movements. I start by putting the winding pinion and then the stem, and then we can assemble the wheels and the levers. So let's start with the winding pinion here. This is the first lever and the wheels. I've assembled the wheels and the lever here and applied the grease here. So there are three wheels which gets lined up with the winding pinion here. So this will makes both the barrel wind and also to set the alarm time. I'm slightly pushing the spring to secure the plate here to complete the alarm mechanism. Now we can secure the setting lever jumper not all the way down. Now we can secure the lever with the setting lever. I'm applying some Mobius grease here, using P2 to line up the setting lever. Now we can tighten the screw. As I mentioned, this side has two springs. I'm assembling the first spring, which controls activation and deactivation of the alarm. In this movement, when you pull the alarm stem, it activates the alarm by releasing this lever, not to hold the hammer which is in the bottom side of the plate. When you push the stem inside, this lever will come in contact with the hammer and hold the hammer tight so the alarm function doesn't trigger. Many of the alarm movements made in during this time uses very similar approach to make the alarm work. You also see a lot of Russian movements which has copied this, and even they are very popular. I think they call Polyjot or something. Maybe I'm misspelling it, but even those are quality movements, but those are replica or copy of this movement. I'm unscrewing the screw. Before we assemble the second spring, we should secure the plate, otherwise it's very difficult to secure the spring with another spring holding up the lever. So I place the lever plate, then secure the screw not all the way through in, but 1 or 2 thirds, and then we can push it in the other spring. As you see, I am pushing the spring carefully into the plate. That should line up the spring, and then we can tighten up the screw. I'm just organizing the wheels. So these are the two wheels which control the alarm mechanism and also enable the movement to trigger the alarm. The wheel I am lubricating now is a wheel which goes on top of the cannon pinion. I am using the Mobius grease here. I'm applying a little bit more here because as you use these movements, these are the parts which goes through a lot of friction, so it's better to lubricate this well. There are three notches which line up with these three holes, and this wheel goes on top of the alarm wheel which we just lubricated, and this wheel also gets rotated when you try to set the alarm. So if you see this watch has been used, or the movement has been used without lubrication, you can see a lot of signs. So I'm lubricating both the wheels here. Now we can start assembling the wheels. I'm unscrewing the intermediate wheel. I'm sorry, the alarm wheel which drives the wheel which sets the alarm. Apologize, I don't know exact names of these parts because alarm watch movements are not that often serviced, so but I know how it works. So If you want the exact names of these wheels, or at least for the alarm side, please refer the manual. I'm applying D5 on the post on both the intermediate wheel and the wheel which drives the alarm. Now I'm securing the wheel which drives the alarm. Now the intermediate wheel which sets time. Now the alarm wheel which goes on top of the cannon pinion. If you see there's a spring tension there, that's what activates and deactivates an alarm. When the alarm is set to trigger, the string releases the power and the hammer rings, and this is the blast wheel which drives the alarm hand in the movement. This is the wheel which is used to set the alarm through the alarm side of the mechanism. I'm using the P-tool here to hold the plate securely, and then we can tighten up the screws. I'm lining up the plate with the notches. If you see, there is a small notch, and I'm just lining this up. And I'm holding the wheel. That wheel should be held straight, secured with the notches in the wheel which has been placed on top of the cannon pinion. Now we can screw it up. There you go. This completes the dial side of the movement, and we have pretty much assembled most of the parts here. We assembled the time setting side of it and the alarm side, and also the wheels which triggers the alarm. I'm lubricating that wheel with the Mobius grease, and that should conclude the dial side of it. Now we can start working on the balance. A little bit of grease there. It should, as you drive the alarm wheel or drive the alarm wheel, it should automatically lubricate it. My lubrication on this side is a little excess, I would say, but I think the alarm part gets struck as you use this movement. It's better to have a little more lubrication here. It should not affect any of the functionality. Now we can start working on assembling the pallet fork and the pallet bridge. I have already secured the pallet fork and pallet bridge and lining the pallet fork with the bridge using P-tool. Now we can screw it back. We can test out the pallet fork now. I'm also fixing up another screw which I missed on the crown side because I'm not sure where it was. Now I found it. I'm winding the time side barrel to test out the pallet for alignment. That looks pretty good. I'm lining up the pallet fork to lubricate that. I'm using D9 and 9010 here. Just lubricating on one side of the pallet fork and driving the pallet fork across all the wheels should lubricate the escapement wheel and the pallet fork. That looks pretty good. Now we can start assembling the balance. I typically put the balance and remove the jewels, and I clean the jewels explicitly because when I clean the movement parts, the jewels would have not got cleaned. And I typically don't take out the jewels for screening because there's a high chance of breaking the pivot. So let's put back the balance and remove the jewels and give it a good clean, and then let's lubricate that. I'm lining up the balance. The movement has a heartbeat now. I'm screwing the balance screw not all the way through just to secure that. Now I'm removing the jewels by removing the jewel cap. Luckily I got the jewel which got out of the movement. I secure the jewel cap just to one side of it because this entire balance will be removed again and it will be cleaned. I use the Zippo lighter fluid which we use for the lighters to clean the balance. That gives a pretty good clean. You can also use other type of cleaning lubricants, but I prefer Zippo. It's very inexpensive and it's easily available in United States. Slightly pry the balance cock and remove the balance. Now let's give the complete balance a good clean. Both the balance and the jewels will get cleaned using the Zippo fluid. I'm using a small blower here to give some ultrasound effect here to get the tiny particles out of the balance. Just a few clicks here should do the job. And I am pushing the blower inside or very close to the balance pivots to give it a good air bubble there. This process makes sure that there is absolutely nothing left over in the balance and it's pretty clean. And the liquid I use, as I said, it's a Zippo lighter fluid. It works very well to clean the balance and the jewels. You can see some dust coming out of the balance as I blow some air into the pivots. Don't expose yourselves to on this liquid for a long time because it's not good. I'm removing the jewels and the balance, and I will dry this up by blowing some air using the blower, and that should make the balance cock dry and clean. I'm using the Virgin blower here, air blower. Any cheap version of this also should work. The jewels are clean, and I'm holding that with a tweezer and give it a blow using the blower. That should clean up. Then we can lubricate the jewel with 9010. You can also use automatic oilers to lubricate this by placing the jewel and jewel cap together and then use the oiler. That gives more precise oiling mechanism, and it makes sure that oil goes and sits in exactly at the center of the jewel. Both the ways works, and for this service I oiled the jewel explicitly just to show how to do that. Now we can dry the balance. Just give it like a couple of blows using the blower. Also, holding this near a light should fasten this process. Alright, now we can put back the balance. I'm just lining up the balance pivot and slightly pushing it in. Securing the balance cock with the main plate and lining up the pivot should line up the balance itself. Now we can put back the jewel and secure that with the jewel cap. Slight pressure on that particular jewel should line up that in that center. Now we can close the jewel cap. Now we can flip the movement and clean the jewel in the other side of the balance to complete the movement service. Pretty good. The process of cleaning the jewel is exactly the same. Just remove that jewel and use the Zippo lighter fluid to give a clean and lubricate it and put it back. While removing the jewel in the dial side, make sure that you position the movement in the movement holder in an angle that it doesn't hit the balance itself. So make sure that the balance is not having any interference with the movement holder. I'm removing the jewel cap and we can give it a good clean. This sharp tweezer will allow you to just remove the jewel and then you can put it in the fluid. This completes the service of AS1475 Alara movement. I'm going to time this movement using the timing machine. I'm going to put it back in the case. As I said, this is a very quality watch movement made in Switzerland, and this movement base has been used by many other manufacturers, and even the same manufacturer has produced different kinds of movements, and this is a base movement. If you know how to service this movement, pretty much you can service any of the Alara movement. Thanks for watching.